Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to a new video. Today, what I want to talk about are patterns that I have not been able to get out of my head, that have been stuck there. They're living in there rent-free, and I cannot stop thinking about them. This is not really going to be a list of what I'm gonna make next or anything like that. They're not really specifically summer patterns either. They're just general patterns that I've seen on Instagram or on Ravelry that caught my eye and that I really want to make at some point. So that's what I want to talk about today. I'm also going to be talking a little bit about yarns that I would love to use or that I plan on using. So if you're interested in that, please keep watching. Before we start with the patterns, I just quickly wanted to mention what I'm wearing. This is the Qing Sweater by em.knits. And I knit this holding one strand of BC cotton and cashmere and one strand of Sandnes alpaca Vollgetrat. I'm gonna move to the left a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about here. Also, please admire my little cow. I love her. Isn't this cute? Anyway, let's get started talking about the patterns. I also have my laptop here with some notes. So if I'm gonna be looking down, don't mind that. But with that said, let's get started. The first pattern that I want to talk about is the Mr. Goostavo Sweater by Brenda Carlota, who's also known as Petrichor Knitwear, here on YouTube as well as on Instagram. She's a German knitwear designer, and I found her through her podcast on YouTube, and in that she was making the Mr. Goostavo sweater, and I just fell in love instantly. This is so cute and a little bit silly, and I love that. I do love her pink version, but what really made me fall in love with this pattern was one of the testers. So I tried looking on Instagram, but I couldn't find the exact picture anymore. But one of the testers basically made a night version of that. So instead of using the pink background color, she used a dark blue background color, and she added little stars and everything. And I thought that was so adorable. And I also think that blue was a little bit more wearable for me. So when I saw that, I was completely hooked. Therefore, my idea or my plan would be to kind of make a copycat version of it. I don't know if you can call it a copycat version if I can't find the original anymore, but it would definitely be very much heavily inspired by that tester's version. Because of that theme, the first yarn that I kind of thought of when thinking about this pattern was the Sandnes garn Peer Gynt in one of the petite knit colorways. I think it's called Night Sky, and that, it would be the perfect yarn for this concept of having a starry night version of this sweater. And it's this really, really deep navy color. It's just so beautiful. And together with that, I would probably have to hold a lace weight, so most likely a mohair. I found the Knitting for Olive, I believe, navy color of their soft silk mohair, which also, at least online, looks like a very, very, very deep navy color, and I think these two would match really well and also make a really nice fabric. However, that's kind of an expensive version. So while I would love to make it in this color or in this yarn combination, I don't think that's too realistic because I need to budget a little bit. I've been spending too much money on yarn. So kind of my more realistic version of this, or my budget version of this, if you will, that I'm probably gonna end up making if I do make this pattern, would be using Drops Air in their dark blue colorway. They only have one. I believe it's called Navy or Marine in German. So really there's only one colorway that would remotely work for this. From the pictures online, I don't love that colorway, but I do really want to try using a blown yarn because I've never used it before, and this pattern specifically recommends using a blown yarn, and the Drops Air is one of their suggested yarns to use. So I do think it would match the pattern well. As for all the yarns that are used to make the goose and all the applications, is that what you call it? Like to make the actual design. I do think I would have most of that in stash. So I absolutely adore yellow, which means I have a bunch of different shades of yellow scraps that I could use for like the stars. And then I also have a white mohair scrap, so that one I could use for the goose. And then I also have a couple of different kinds of pink yarn. So I think for that I wouldn't even have to buy anything, which would actually make this a really great scrap project, I think. So yeah, that is the first pattern, the Mr. Goostavo by Petrichor Knitwear. The second pattern I want to talk about is actually not a pattern yet, but I could not talk about this. And it's the Heartless top by em.knits. I believe I might have talked about this before on my channel because I'm absolutely obsessed with it. But this is a pattern by em.knits, and she made the first prototype, I want to say, a year and a half ago, and people went crazy over that on Instagram. So she decided to make a pattern, and that pattern was in testing this spring. Sadly, the release of that pattern has been delayed and there's no official release date right now, but I'm hoping it's going to be soon, and I will buy that immediately. I will buy that the second it comes out. So if you're also interested in that, I would suggest following em.knits on Instagram, so she updates there. And yeah, I'm just really excited for this pattern. It looks so cool. I would love to make this for summer, so I do hope it's gonna come out soon enough that I can still get some wear out of it this summer, but we'll just have to see. The yarn that I want to use for that, I actually already own. So this is the Knit Pro Symphonie Terra, which is a hand-dyed yarn by Knit Pro, and this is the colorway Summer Romance. I bought this a couple of months ago without a plan attached, and then I saw the Heartless top and knew that I wanted to use this for that pattern. But because this is too thin of a yarn, I also decided to then buy something to hold with it, and I chose the Atenea by Concept by Katja yarn. I don't know if you can see that. Oh god. And this is a lace weight wool blend made up of 42% virgin wool, 40% cotton, and 18% cashmere. So this is super soft, and I thought it would be a nice, slightly more summery alternative to mohair because this does have a lot of cotton and cashmere. And I just love these colors together. I think this will tone this very bright, variegated colorway down a little bit, which I prefer. So that's what I want to use for that. I'm super excited for this, so I will probably cast that on the day the pattern drops, and I'm super excited. On to the third pattern, which is the Zephyr Pullover by em.knits, or Emily Y. Chang, I believe is her actual name. This is also a very fluffy yarn pattern. It has beautiful drape. I just love all the details. I love the silhouette and the split hem. I love how many versions she has in the pattern because you can do it short sleeved or long sleeved. You can do the hem asymmetrical or symmetrical, so like a normal sweater hem. And I just love all of those options, and just scrolling through all the people who have made it and the testers versions on Instagram, they're all just so beautiful. For this pattern, I think the yarn choice is really important because it's going to affect the drape and how see-through it is. So again, scrolling through the testers versions on Instagram, I think I like the kind of see-through ones, but not super see-through ones the best. And I think most of those were made using Suri alpaca, which is a little bit fluffier and thicker than mohair, but not as dense as just a normal wool. I've never worked with Suri alpaca, but I think this one would be a cool pattern to try that out with. Now, I've looked around a little bit, and I think the prettiest series that I've been able to find were all hand-dyed. So basically my dream yarn for this would be a hand-dyed Suri alpaca yarn, but they're so expensive that I can probably not afford that. So I tried looking around a little bit longer to find a commercial alternative, kind of, and the one that I've liked the most so far is the Lang Yarns Alpaca Super Light. This is a little bit lighter, I think, than most hand-dyed Suris. This has 200 meters per 25 grams, so it's definitely a lace. It's basically as thin as a mohair, but I do think it might work, and it's also much more affordable. So this one I would love to knit in like a deep red, probably in the Bordeaux colorway. I just think that for the fall, when you need something to cover up, but it's not super cold yet, so like mohair and all those fluffy yarns, I feel like they keep you very warm compared to how light they are. So I think this would be perfect for like early to mid-fall. And then just having like a really deep red, I think would be really pretty. So that's kind of my idea for that. But if you know any other affordable Suri alpaca yarns, please do let me know in the comments, or any other type of fluffy yarn that you think might work with this pattern. I would love to hear your suggestions in the comments. I have also thought about the Drops brushed alpaca. I'm just a little worried about that being very itchy, because I've seen people use it in their, or talk about it in their podcasts, and a lot of them have said that it's too itchy to wear on skin. But I think what's so cool about the Zephyr, or like the look that I would want to go for, is just a bralette or maybe a short camisole and then the sweater. So if I can't wear it on bare skin, that wouldn't work. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for light, soft, fluffy yarns that you think would work, I would love to hear those. Now for the last pattern that actually kind of inspired this entire video, I would like to talk about a pattern that I've actually never seen mentioned anywhere, I believe, and that is the Romola twist wrap by Qing Fibre. Wrap cardigans, I feel like, have been kind of trendy this year in the knitting world, but I haven't seen anyone talk about this one in particular. But I think it's just so pretty. I think the drape looks really good, and also just the colors. This is by Qing Fibre, so they did use their own hand-dyed fibers from Qing Fibre, and those are just stunning. So I think this just looks like such a great staple for, again, like more the fall or winter time. And the way that they have it styled on their website, it looks like you can layer it but also just wear it on its own, and it just looks so pretty and so cute. When I found this, I did check on their website, because there is one of the two colorways that I fell in love with especially. It's this fade from black to pink, but then it has also kind of green earthy tones, and that's like exactly my color palette. I absolutely adore that colorway. I love that colorway so much that I actually went to their website and checked if they still had the yarn, and they have a kit for this specific pattern. However, that kit is 213 euros, and because I'm in Germany, I would also have to pay customs and taxes, so I kind of can't afford that, sadly, as much as I would love to make basically the exact same version they have. I can't afford that. So I tried figuring out a way to kind of make a version that has a similar vibe but is cheaper, and what I've come up with is definitely still very expensive, but I think it would still be cheaper than buying the kit. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to work out or if this was a stupid idea, but here's the plan. So I actually ordered yarn off of their website. They recently dropped a new base, which is the Sprinkles base. In the pattern, they used the pearl base, which those two are a little bit different, but the Sprinkles also has kind of those neps that I think makes it look very unique. That's one of the things that I loved about this pattern, is that it's stockinette, but it still has a lot of interesting texture because of those nips in the yarn. And they had the sprinkles in one of the colorways that was actually used in this sample, which is the Boreal Cloud colorway. And then also another color they had was the Reverence colorway, which is kind of black mixed with dark greens and pinks. So I felt like that would work well. And the goal is to kind of blend those two in a similar way that they did with the pearl yarn in the pattern. And then I need a fluffy yarn to hold with that. But I've chosen to kind of go with a commercial yarn for the fluff because as much as I love their Veronita base and would love to try that out, it's just not in any price range that I can afford right now. So I thought mixing these two really beautiful hand-dyed yarns with some commercial yarn might make it a little bit, or will hopefully make it a little bit more affordable while not taking out too much of the essence of this color scheme, if that makes sense. So I did order those two skeins of yarn from Qing Fibre. They're not here yet, sadly, otherwise I would have shown you. But I am planning on waiting for those first to look at them in person before deciding what fluff to get to hold with this. One idea that I did have, or that I am considering right now, is again using the Concept by Katja Atenea, because this is slightly thicker than a normal mohair and I just think it's super soft. I think this might work well. The Veronita that they used in the pattern is also a cashmere yarn, and because this has at least a little bit of cashmere mixed in, I think the structure might be similar, because I feel like this cashmere is a little bit, I can show you again. So this is definitely, it has fluff, but it's way less fluffy than, say, a mohair. So I do think that this would work well. I did try just for fun knitting up a swatch to see if this would work, and I think it does. It's definitely not a super dense fabric, it's more of a lighter, slightly see-through fabric, but I do think it would work, especially if you use it in a darker colorway. Now, the color palette of this yarn isn't super big, so it is a little bit more difficult, but there are a couple of colorways that I saw. I definitely want to get the black for the black part at the bottom, and then I was thinking of getting either the sage green or the lighter green, depending on how the hand-dyed yarn looks once I get it, and then probably the pink yarn. Though again, I do want to wait until the hand-dyed yarn is here to see if I think that the pink would work or if I should lean more towards green or blue maybe. But that's the general idea. Again, if you have any other ideas or suggestions for fluffy yarn that you think would work well with this pattern, or that you think have a good color palette for this pattern, do let me know in the comments, because I'm not 100% on the Atenea yarn yet, and I would love to hear your opinion on if you think this is going to work out and what you think about the plan. Lastly, I have a couple of kind of honorable mentions. These are patterns that I don't really plan on making right away, that I haven't really researched any yarns for or anything, but I just saw them and thought they were really unique and really cool, and I want to talk about them. Most of these are by Qing Fibre because I've kind of fallen down a rabbit hole of Qing Fibre. I think all their hand-dyed yarns are so pretty and colorful and unique, and they have such cool patterns that use different yarns and different textures and different colors, and I just think they're very cool. I feel like there's two types of knitting generally. Obviously it's kind of a spectrum, but I feel like on the one end there's like the super minimalist knitters like Petite Knit or My Favorite Things Knitwear and that type of category, and on the other hand there's like all these really artsy, colorful, unique type of knitwear designers, and I definitely think Qing Fibre falls more into that category, and lately I've been really obsessed with that. So even though I don't have anything similar, and I don't know if I would wear such statement pieces, I think they're also gorgeous and I would love to make them just because I think they're so beautiful. So I did try to narrow it down, and I have 3 Qing Fibre patterns that I do want to mention. The first one is the Lolita jacket. I think It's such a cool idea to have a different yarn and a different pattern under the arms. I don't love the collar, which is why I'm not sure if I would actually make this, but I think it's just such a unique idea to play around with colors and textures like that, and I think all the tester pictures are so pretty. This one especially stood out to me because I just love the color combo and it's so pretty. That's all I can say about it. It's so pretty. The second pattern that I have is the Simply Wave Long Socks. Again, this is just such a cool idea. I've definitely thought about making knee-high socks, but mixing the alpaca into it and just the lacy pattern makes it so cool and unique, I think. And this one is one that I actually see myself making. The third one is the Polperro dress, which I think would be super cute for summer. This one I think really shines with the hand-dyed yarns in the background, so this one I would definitely want to make with a variegated yarn, and I just think it's so pretty. I definitely have on my bucket list to knit a dress. I was planning on trying to make that this year, but I think since we're already so far into the summer, I'm gonna push that to next year, but I definitely want to try knitting a dress. The last thing I want to talk about today is this asymmetrical top by em.knits. This is not a pattern yet. She only posted pictures on Instagram and talked about how she wants to make it a pattern, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I do hope she's actually going to release this, and if you think this is cute too, you should follow her on Instagram. She has a couple of other camisole patterns out there that I also think are really cute, but I think this asymmetrical one is just that little bit more unique that makes me extra interested in it. And yeah, if it does come out, I would love to make that. I don't think it's gonna be in time for this summer, but I'm still keeping an eye out for this pattern. If you've watched till here, thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope you found some inspiration. Let me know what other unique knitting patterns you love and you are obsessed with. I would love to hear that. I'm always on the lookout for more fancy patterns, even though I already have way too many on my want to knit list. I always love seeing what other people are interested in and also learning about new designers that I don't know yet. So definitely let me know in the comments what knitting patterns you're currently obsessed with. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and come back next week for a new video. I know I promised the vlog last week, but each and every time I film a vlog, I underestimate the amount of time that it takes me to edit this. So I'm still working on it and it will come out next week. So please look forward to that and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!